So, are you obsessed with personality tests? Because I definitely am. Think about that one person in your office who just instantly drains your energy the second they open their mouth. You probably think, like, they're just difficult, or maybe something's wrong with your own communication style.
Right, yeah. We always want to blame ourselves or just label the other person as toxic.
Exactly. But what if a 2,000-year-old Chinese philosophy could actually prove that they are fundamentally like the exact opposite elemental energy to you?
Well, it's a radically different way of looking at human interaction. I mean, we spend so much time taking these personality tests because we want a framework, you know, to
Okay.
explain ourselves to ourselves.
Oh, totally.
But most of those frameworks really fall short when the pressure's actually on in a workplace.
And that is exactly the mission of today's deep dive.
Oh.
We are unpacking Lama's five elements matrix, which is also known as Wuxing. And I'm telling you, this goes way beyond your standard Myers-Briggs acronyms or like your daily horoscope.
Oh, absolutely.
Because most tests just put you in the static box, right? They tell you who you are in a vacuum. But Lauma's framework doesn't do that at all. It's dynamic. It explains the exact psychological mechanics of why we clash so intensely with specific people.
Yeah. The key word there really is dynamic. I mean, Wuxing is an ancient map of energy states, what Chinese philosophy calls qi, and it tracks how different energetic types fuel each other and, more importantly for us, how they completely destroy each other in a high-stress environment.
Which is the juicy part.
Right. I mean, modern organizational psychology is literally just now catching up to concepts that this matrix mapped out centuries ago.
It's wild, and I want to get straight into the destruction part because office drama is universally fascinating to everyone. But first, we need to know who is who. So we are going to do a 30-second rapid-fire quiz right now.
Let's do it.
Okay, so if you're listening, I want you to keep track of which of these five elemental vibes resonates with your core operating system. Ready?
Let's lay out the framework. I'll take the first one. Number one is wood. So you are driven, highly competitive, and strictly future-oriented.
Like always looking ahead.
Exactly. Your entire psychological makeup is geared toward growing upward and moving forward. You're constantly breaking new ground.
Okay, got it. Number two is fire. You are the radiant energy, passionate, magnetic, fast-paced, and highly emotionally expressive. You don't just like participate in the environment. You bring the energy that literally changes the temperature of the room.
Yeah, that's a powerful one. Number three is earth. You are grounded, nurturing, and incredibly supportive. You're the consensus builder.
A mom of the group.
Sort of, yeah. Your fundamental drive is to ensure the soil of the team is healthy and that everyone is actually getting along.
Love that. Number four, metal. You are analytical, precise, highly structured. You deeply value your boundaries and operate on logic rather than emotion. You just want to distill things down to their absolute unchangeable truth.
And finally, number five is water. You are deep, highly adaptable, fiercely observant, and, maybe a little
A
mysterious.
little mysterious, yeah.
Right,
Okay.
you go with the flow on the surface, but underneath, you hold immense strategic hidden power. So looking at that matrix, it usually doesn't take long for a person to identify their dominant state.
Oh, holding up the mirror here. It is almost embarrassing how obvious it is. Like just listening to that list, I am absolutely 100% a fire type.
Really.
Oh, without a doubt. Fast-paced, emotionally expressive, loud. I mean, my default state is hype. So guilty as charged.
Yeah, I cannot argue with that assessment at all. And, analyzing my own traits through this framework,
Uh-huh.
the analytical, precise, logically structured nature of metal is undeniably where I sit.
I knew you were going to say metal.
It's true. I don't naturally project outward like fire does. I prefer to draw boundaries and build systems.
A fire and a metal hosting a deep dive. Well, we haven't exploded yet, so that's good. But now that you, the listener, have a working guess of your element, let's look at what that actually means for your daily 9 to 5, because this isn't just about like what kind of aura you project.
Far from it. I mean, this system of energy actually dictates your ultimate strengths. It's your workplace superpower, really.
Mhm.
And it strongly predicts your ideal career trajectory.
So it tells you why you're good at your job.
Exactly. It explains the why behind your professional successes and also your frustrations.
Okay, let's unpack this breakdown. We'll group them a bit to make it easier. Let's start with the outward, expansive energies, wood and fire. So Lao Mai's framework calls wood the visionary or the pioneer, right? The analogy they use is a tree literally breaking through concrete to reach the sun.
Yeah, and that analogy perfectly captures their psychological mechanism. because wood energy is forceful. It's all about relentless forward momentum.
Mm.
And because their underlying drive is continuous upward expansion, their superpower is initiating massive projects. They break new ground. But psychologically, this is exactly why they absolutely despise micromanagement.
Because you are putting a physical lid on a plant that is genetically programmed to grow upwards.
Precisely. If you look at the modern Myers-Briggs equivalents, these are often your ENTJs and ESTJs.
Ooh, the commander
Right,
types.
people whose brains are wired for extroverted, logical structure and commanding their environment. So their ideal career path. They are perfect for leading startups or turnaround operations. They physically need a chaotic frontier to conquer.
Which brings us to my people, the fire types, the charismatic communicators. The analogy here is a bonfire. We draw people in, we provide warmth, and we illuminate the space. The superpower here is being the ultimate hype man.
But it's important to understand why that's a superpower. Fire types don't just cheerlead. They transmute stagnant energy into kinetic energy.
Wow, okay. I like the sound of that.
Well, they're the ones who can walk into a stale, depressing pitch meeting, and suddenly everyone is awake and leaning in. That's why their ideal career path is in sales or marketing, or really any leadership role that requires inspiring a disillusioned team.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And in MBTI terms, these are your ENFPs and ESFPs, right? The extroverted feeling types who process the world through emotional resonance.
Exactly. So wood pushes the team forward, and fire gets everyone excited about the journey.
Right.
Now let's look at the stabilizing energies. Earth and metal. Earth is the peacemaker. The analogy is the literal soil that quietly supports the entire ecosystem.
So Earth energy is very inward and communal. Their psychological drive is harmony, which translates to their superpower. They are the glue.
Is it glue?
Earth types are the people quietly making sure everyone is actually okay after a brutal quarter. They make sure the human processes are sustainable.
And without them, the startup founders, like the wood types, would just burn the whole team to the ground.
Oh, completely. Just total burnout.
Right. Earth types thrive in HR, operations, or community management, and they often correlate with ISFJs and ENFJs. So, individuals who prioritize feeling and judging, meaning they really want structured, harmonious environments for the group, they're the foundational bedrock.
Okay, next is your element, metal. The architect or the perfectionist. Now, the framework uses the analogy of a sharp scalpel, which sounds a little aggressive compared to a tree or soil. How does a scalpel work as a superpower?
Well, a scalpel isn't aggressive, actually. It's precise. It cuts through the noise and all the emotional fluff to find the structural truth.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, metal's energetic drive is refinement. Our superpower is reliability and precision. We look at the big, messy, chaotic ideas generated by wood and fire, and we just cut away the excess until we have a structure that actually functions.
So you are the ones writing the standard operating procedures, the SOPs.
Guilty. We make brilliant analysts, coders, and system builders. We're the INTJs and ISTJs, the introverted thinkers who rely heavily on sensing and logic. We value boundaries because, well, boundaries prevent collapse.
Makes sense. And finally, we have the wild card. Water. The philosopher, the strategist. So think of a deep, slow-moving river. You might only see a few ripples on the surface, but the undercurrent is pulling with this immense, unstoppable power.
Water is arguably the most complex energy out of all of them. Their psychological mechanism is observation and adaptation. They don't expend energy reacting to surface-level waves. Instead, they watch the deep currents, and they recognize patterns long before anyone else does.
Which makes them the long-term strategists in a workplace.
Right.
But they notoriously quiet, right? Like they kind of hang back.
Yes, and that is exactly their strength. They rarely speak up in meetings just to hear their own voice. But when they finally do interject, they offer this rare, profound input that solves the entire problem from an angle no one else even saw.
Wow.
They correlate strongly with INTPs and INFPs, introverted perceivers, who process complex theories internally before ever making a move. So ideal roles for them are deep-thinking strategic planners or researchers.
Okay, I'm tracking with all of this, but I have to push back here for a second.
Sure. If everyone has these distinct, perfectly tailored superpowers, and we're all operating in our ideal lanes as pioneers, hype men, stabilizers, architects, and strategists, I mean, it sounds like an Avengers team.
It does.
So why is the modern office still a complete mess of miscommunication and resentment? Like, why is everyone always mad at each other?
That is the million-dollar question. And it touches on the absolute genius of Lamar's matrix, because what we just described is the elemental energy in its balanced, healthy state.
Right.
But the office is rarely a healthy state. Under high workplace stress and burnout, these elements don't just change into different elements. Their core traits actually ossify and warp. They devolve into their shadow side.
Oh, the toxic shadow side. I love this part. So stress essentially mutates our key.
Exactly. Let's look at wood. Their core trait is upward expansion. When a wood type is stressed, say by a looming deadline or major budget cuts, that drive to break through concrete becomes totally destructive.
They get mean. They become aggressive, hyper-controlling, and wildly impatient. In modern corporate jargon, they will completely bulldoze over people's feelings, ethics, or well-being just to hit the target.
Oh, wow. The classic results over everything toxic boss.
No.
The kind who emails you at 2 a.m. on a Sunday and demands an answer. Okay, what about fire? I'm almost afraid to ask. What happens when my elemental energy gets warped by burnout?
Well, think about the physics of actual fire. When it gets out of control, it consumes all available oxygen and then completely burns itself out. So stressed fire types cause drama.
Ow.
Because your energy is so fast-paced and outward, when you hit a wall, you overpromise to keep the hype alive, you panic easily when the details catch up to you, and you completely lack follow-through. It becomes all flash and no substance.
Okay, that is entirely too accurate. I will openly admit my fire shadow moments definitely involve causing a bit of theatrical drama. When I'm overwhelmed, I will absolutely overpromise on a deadline just to make the immediate tension go away, and then I completely crash. I own that.
Self-awareness is the first step out of the shadow side.
Thank you.
Now let's move to Earth. Earth is normally the nurturing soil. But when the Earth type gets stressed and overloaded, they become deeply stubborn and overly anxious.
Right, because they want stability.
They hate sudden changes because it threatens that stability they crave. And worst of all, their desire to support everyone warps into this massive murder complex.
Oh, I know exactly what this looks like. This is the person who insists on doing everyone's work, refuses to delegate anything, stays at the office until 8 p.m., and then silently resents the entire team for it.
Yes.
They're the ones sighing really loudly while forcefully loading the dishwasher in the break room.
Precisely. They are absorbing the environmental stress, but turning it into passive resentment instead of just vocalizing their boundaries.
Right.
Now, for metal, my shadow side, when we get stressed, our need for structure becomes an absolute obsession. Metal types become cold, hyper-rigid, micromanaging, and emotionally detached.
I would argue that rigid is a bit of an understatement. The framework says you retreat completely into rules when emotions run high.
It's a defense mechanism, really. The text specifically notes that a stressed metal type will literally correct your grammar or your formatting in the middle of a heated, emotional argument.
Oh my God, you have absolutely done that to me.
Have I?
Yes. I remember we were arguing passionately about a script direction. I was completely fired up, and you calmly pointed out that I used a dangling modifier in paragraph 3. It made me want to scream.
Well, I mean, I stand by that grammatical correction.
Of course you do.
But yes, you're right. That is the exact manifestation of the metal shadow side, using precision as a weapon to regain control when things feel emotionally chaotic.
Fair enough, fair enough. And lastly, water. What happens when the deep, observant river gets toxic?
Water's defense mechanism is depth. So when they're stressed, they become isolated, secretive, and really fearful. Instead of facing the conflict on the surface, they just retreat.
They hide.
In modern terms, a stressed water type will completely ghost you. They'll turn off their Slack availability, stop responding to emails, and just disappear into the depths to avoid the confrontation entirely.
They just evaporate. Wow, this is so revealing because it explains so much of the bizarre behavior we see in meetings. But here is where it gets incredibly profound. Stress doesn't happen in a vacuum. Usually my stress at work isn't caused by the workload itself. It's directly caused by dealing with a specific person.
Which brings us to the most complex and frankly mind-blowing part of the Wuxing matrix, the cycle of destruction.
The clash.
Elements don't just sit next to each other in a meeting room, their energies actively interact. And according to the philosophy, certain elemental energies are fundamentally fatal to each other. They literally destroy each other.
Let's talk about this clash, because this is the real reason the modern office feels like a battlefield. Let's start with water and fire. If I am the passionate hype man and I'm dealing with a quiet, observant strategist, what happens?
In elemental physics, water extinguishes fire. So let's translate that to a management dynamic. Imagine a logical, quiet, observant water boss managing a passionate, dramatic, fast-paced fire employee. The fire employee comes in hot, pitching a wild new idea, waving their arms around, trying to generate heat. The water boss simply sits there, absorbing it all, without reacting, just waiting to process the depths of the idea.
And the fire employee feels like they are shouting into a literal void. Their energy is completely drained. Oh my God, my last boss was pure metal, and as a fire type, he completely extinguished my passion. Wait.
Actually, let's look at the matrix carefully. Water is what extinguishes your fire by absorbing and draining your emotional energy.
Right.
But a rigid metal boss, they interact with you differently. In fact, fire melts metal. Your chaotic, passionate energy actually overwhelms their rigid structure.
Oh.
But a metal boss would absolutely destroy a wood employee. The dynamic there is metal cuts wood.
Right. Metal cuts wood. I always get those dynamics tangled up. So let's explore that. I understand water putting out fire. That's an obvious visual. But metal cutting wood feels a little less intuitive in a corporate setting. Are we talking about a literal cutting down of ideas?
We're talking about the psychological friction between expansive growth and defined boundaries. Think of the scalpel versus the growing tree. Wood's entire purpose is to expand, push forward, break new ground, and look at the big picture, right?
Yeah, they want to grow branches in every direction.
Exactly. While metal's entire purpose is precision, compliance, and structure, they believe growth is only safe when it is heavily pruned and directed.
So the rigid perfectionist metal colleague will constantly criticize and chop down the fast-moving wood colleague.
Precisely. The wood director says, hey, let's conquer this entirely new international market by Friday. Let's just launch and figure it out. And the metal compliance officer says, we haven't even finalized the tax documents for our current market. No. Metal severs the expansive idea right at the root.
That sounds like literally every product versus engineering meeting or like sales versus legal meeting I have ever been in.
It really is.
Okay, what about the clash between wood and earth? Because wood is the pioneer and earth is the peacemaker. That seems like it could work.
It works until the wood type gets stressed, and then wood breaks earth.
How does wood break earth?
The visual analogy is a tree's roots aggressively pulling nutrients from the soil to sustain its massive upward growth. In the office, an aggressive, pioneering wood manager will completely exhaust the nurturing earth employee.
Oh, I see.
The wood manager just wants to hit the aggressive quarterly targets at all costs. They're moving at 100 miles an hour.
Well, the earth employee just wants everyone on the team to be happy, stable, and, not working through the weekend.
Exactly. But because earth types hate conflict and naturally want to support people, they won't fight back. They'll just let the wood manager extract all their energy. The earth employee gets entirely depleted, turned to dust, basically trying to support wood's endless, relentless ambition.
This is incredible because it completely reframes how we view workplace conflict. Like when we are sitting in a meeting, pulling our hair out, thinking, why is Dave from compliance so utterly impossible to deal with? Why does he hate me? Dave isn't necessarily a bad guy. Dave isn't intentionally plotting your downfall. Dave is simply metal, and I am wood, and every single time I naturally try to branch out, his elemental nature forces him to bring out the pruning shears.
Exactly. It removes the moral judgment from office friction. It's not about good employees or bad employees. It's about elemental physics. They are reacting to your energy exactly how nature programmed them to.
So knowing all of this, how do we actually use it? Because we can't just fire everyone who isn't our compatible element.
Unfortunately not.
If I'm a shyer type-ill, and I know I have a one-on-one tomorrow with a water strategist who is going to completely drain my energy and make me feel ignored, what do I do? How do we adapt our communication styles so we aren't just stuck in this cycle of destruction?
You have to recognize their elemental energy before you walk into the room, and then consciously adjust your approach. You cannot take their shadow side personally.
Okay.
For example, if you're that passionate fire type dealing with a quiet water strategist, you need to deliberately turn the temperature down.
So I shouldn't go in there blasting my usual hype.
Exactly. Don't overwhelm them with enthusiasm and demand an immediate, energetic response. Present your ideas logically and then actually give them the quiet space they need to process the depth of the issue. You have to give the river room to flow.
That makes so much sense. Okay, what if you are a nurturing earth type, the one who just wants peace, and you are dealing with an aggressive wood manager who is actively bulldozing you and extracting all your nutrients?
The earth type must do something that feels very unnatural to them. They have to set firm structural boundaries before the wood type's roots destroy the soil. But here's the trick. You communicate your boundaries in terms of growth. which is wood's favorite language.
Oh, that is so smart. You use their energy against them, or rather, with them.
Exactly. You say, I completely support this massive new initiative, but to ensure it actually grows successfully without collapsing, I need 2 extra weeks and a dedicated budget. You speak their language of forward momentum, but you protect your foundation. You make your boundary a prerequisite for their growth.
I love that. And what if I am dealing with a stressed out metal type who is correcting my grammar, clinging to the rules, and being hyper rigid? Asking for a friend, obviously.
Right, for a friend. Well, you provide them with the one thing they are starving for, logic and structure. You do not combat a stressed metal type with emotional appeals, volume, or vague promises.
That just makes it worse.
It will only make them sharper. You bring data. You show them that the structural foundation is secure. Once metal feels that the boundaries are respected and the logic is sound, they put the scalpel away.
It really transforms how you view your entire calendar. Suddenly, a tense one-on-one isn't a battle of wills or egos. It's a chemistry experiment. You are literally just balancing the pH levels of the room. You're neutralizing the acid.
That is a brilliant synthesis. And really, that's the ultimate takeaway of Lao Ma's framework. Knowing the 5 elements matrix transforms the modern workplace from a battleground into an ecosystem.
And ecosystems need all the elements to survive, right? You can't just have a forest of only wood types.
Precisely. If you only have wood, you have uncontrolled, unsustainable growth. If you only have metal, you have a sterile, unmoving machine. You need the wood to push the boundaries, the fire to inspire the team, the earth to stabilize the culture, the metal to build the structure, and the water to strategize the future.
It's all connected.
The goal isn't to change your element, and the goal isn't to change your coworkers. The goal is to understand exactly how your specific energy interacts with the rest of the biome.
That is deeply empowering.
And it leaves us with something quite profound to consider as we wrap up this deep dive.
Let's hear it.
What if that toxic coworker you absolutely despise, the one who makes your blood boil every Tuesday morning, isn't actually a bad person at all? What if they are simply an incompatible element reacting naturally to your specific energy? How would your professional life and your personal stress levels change tomorrow if you started viewing your team as an ecosystem of colliding elements rather than just a collection of job titles and egos?
Wow, that completely changes the game. I'm going to be analyzing absolutely everyone in my office tomorrow morning. I'm going to be looking at Dave in compliance in a whole new light.
Good luck to Dave.
Right. And speaking of analyzing, we want to know what you are. Drop down into the comments right now and tell us your element. Are you wood, fire, earth, metal, or water? Let us know, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.